Kings Road along with everybody else. So, oh, I can't leave it, no, I can't leave it.
Can't leave without your
Will not.
plaques.
No, please, I want them, I really do it. So as I understand what we're gonna do here. If we do the roll call,
Mhm.
we're gonna go into executive session, so. Let's welcome everybody, and again, I apologize for my tardiness today. Let me do the, who's here?
Mhm. We have a guest. Mr. Wallace, do you want to introduce yourself to the group?
Very welcome, right, Anybody else? We introduce? All right, I'd entertain a motion to enter into executive session. I would ask anyone who's not a member of the commission or a contractor together for you to leave at this point, and then also ask the staff if they would be sure that whatever is streaming is only being streamed to individuals. And for our guest benefit, I do anticipate we only have a resolution in public after we're done. I think I did that right.
I think you did too.
Okay, good job.
All right, hang on.
Trip around the block.
So folks, just click into the breakout room. The folks that are online. All right, let me close our rooms here. So notice we didn't have any other online attendees. Here they come. All right, everyone's back. You can hear us? Good.
So, it would appear that the agenda has the next items, the memo 2506 to present 2025 budget modification.
Together for Youth has requested I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Together for Youth has requested a budget modification to our 2025 budget. Their request adds an additional $2.35 million to the budget. The companion chart shows how the budgets have stacked up since 2016. As you can see, the overall cost of detention has greatly increased as we contemplate operating a 39-bed facility, in addition to the requirements of implementation of Raise the Age. I regret not printing this chart in color because the darkest shade of gray at the bottom represents the actual change in out-of-pocket costs for the counties. So as you can see, the rate of change to the out-of-pocket costs has increased, but certainly has not increased as the largest portion of the increase is 100% reimbursable from the state. Any questions on the proposed budget amendment?
Motion, second. Discussion. Take a vote. In favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed. Motion carried.
Just that's for Chris, who made the motion to exit executive session? Craig, thank you. Can anyone second it? Second. Thank you. It's okay. I just want to know who to do else. I didn't know who made the in either.
And Craig made the end.
Okay.
If we did, we said.
We're saying Craig and Laura did both, thank you.
The next item is the approval of the January 15 meeting minutes.
Sure. Quarter 4 billings have been paid in full, right? No?
No, I think we're still waiting on one county.
Okay. So they have not been paid in full. We're still waiting on one county. Together for Youth, we're waiting on their Q1 expenses.
Are you doing minutes or financial?
We haven't
Oh,
done
I'm
that.
sorry.
That's okay. A motion and a second, please, on that.
So move.
Any discussion of the minutes from the January 15th meeting? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed.
Thank you, Gary, for
We can
keeping
move
us
to
in
the
order.
financial statement. For
Yes.
March 31st, memo 2507.
So we're still waiting on Together for Use final Q1 expenses so we can submit them to OCFS rate setting. Together for Use actual expenses through the first quarter, through February, for secure detention, just under $960,000, tracking at 15% to the budget. Estimated total expenses through March are 1.4 million for specialized secure detention. And I still have the legacy name Berkshire Farm in there. I apologize. For February through February are 1.46 million, 12% to budget. And the estimated total expenses through March are 2.22 million. Board action is requested to approve the financial statements.
And the second,
Make that motion.
second.
Yeah.
Any discussion of the financial? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. You opposed? And those are approved. Memo 2508 is facility use.
I've attached to the facility use chart. You can see the lion's share of bed days are being used by Albany County, with Schenectady in second and Rensselaer in third. Saratoga County gets the gold star by having the lowest use in the facility, only 2 bed days for the entire quarter. Any questions on facility use?
So I should know the answer. Uh, But, last time we had this discussion, we had no female beds, or we do have female beds, but we're not using them.
We do not currently have available female beds until the construction project is complete.
That's what I thought.
So we're waiting on 2 computers and we need to do an agency walkthrough. So it could be within the next week or 2 weeks, depending on people's schedules. And we probably should be planning a ribbon cutting for the June timeframe. So we'll be working with Albany County and other stakeholders to plan that.
And
Oh, doesn't need a vote. Fine, go ahead. Actually, there's nothing else here that we can.
not yet.
Good. Okay. Then we don't have to vote, so we can move on to 2510, which is letter of concern to Brunswick Beach.
The capital project. Yeah.
Oh. Education program. So, okay, capital project.
So as I just mentioned to Gila, we're very close to being fully operational at 39 beds. I'd like to thank the unionized staff members and the supervisors in the facility and all the staff for over the past couple of years dealing with very challenging circumstances in the facility, keeping the youth safe, dealing with the challenges of the construction project, dealing with the inconveniences of the construction project. And I'm really glad that we're at the finish line. So thank you to the union and your staff. Thank you to the supervisors and leadership, Ray, Luke, and everyone. Without the collective support of the team, the construction project would not have been possible. So attached, we have the field reports 45 through 47. Wrapping up in areas, the final renovations in the kitchen area in dorm A and dorm B. In addition, finalizing the construction renovation in the main lobby area. And finishing details like these balancing the heat and HVAC system in the facility, doing the smoke exhaust tests in the facility. So the remaining action steps that we are required before we can occupy the spaces, as I mentioned, one, the agency walk, and the agency walks also include the Albany County Sheriff. And we also need to have sign off from Albany County's building inspector to get a certificate of occupancy. The kitchen also needs to be inspected by the Department of Health to make sure it's up to standards. And our construction manager, while not on site, is still making sure those things are getting planned and getting scheduled as we can. As I mentioned, we're waiting on 2 computers from our security consultant, Securitas, to arrive so that we can operationalize the main security control room. After this project is complete, there will be 100% redundancy in security and operations control. The front lobby, there's a room adjacent to the front lobby that will have all of the security features as the main control room that's back in the secure perimeter. So that if we have to do anything in the future that requires renovation or construction or whatever, taking the main security pod offline, we can have that redundancy. So hopefully we'll have our next meeting in June at the detention facility in the conference room there, so you all can see the improvements and the renovations at the facility. One thing that's going to be a post-construction project is related to the security screens that were installed in dorm D, which is the new dorm, and the 4 new bedrooms that were built in dorm A. The security screens specified, I guess I'll just say, are flimsy. And they were intended to be flimsy because originally the project was designed to be not constructed with a smoke purge system. So code does not require a smoke purge system in a building such as ours if you can break the windows to let the smoke out. So the architect designed the spec for the screens so that they could break the windows in the event of a fire emergency. Subsequent to the design, Albany County requested the addition of the smoke purge system, making the flimsy screens and their ability to be broken obsolete and irrelevant. They have been, and pretty much since we saw them first time, had concerns about them, and those concerns have been validated because youth are able to damage them significantly. So we're going to revert back to the original security screens that were installed in the remainder of the facility, which are much beefier than the existing screens that respect. So we have a cost estimate for just the materials for that, and it's around $14,000. I would anticipate 40% more on top of that for labor and installation. But we'll be working to procure that shortly. Another sort of post-construction project, but will be funded through the financing, is the bathroom doors. So the agencies have required vision panels to be included in those bathroom doors. How many bathroom doors are there? Do we need to do 16 or something? 16 doors. Right now, they have peepholes in them, which is not the ideal solution. We need to balance privacy of the youth with safety of the youth and staff. And the agencies are requiring a vision panel to be installed, but the logistics of the construction, the timeline of turning over the spaces, it was determined that it was going to be addressed after the facility was 100% turned over. And I think logistically, we'll be able to manage it better because the doors will have to be taken off the hinges, taken out of the building. They're gonna have to cut a hole in them, paint them, and put them back in. So the flexibility of not being in an active construction project and taking it sort of piecemeal approach is gonna make that process go a little bit smoother. So we'll be working with Albany County and procuring another contractor to do that work over the next couple of months. Any questions?
Number 8 is program officer.
Yes, we continue to work with BOCES to bring on our educational program and have it run as BOCES has had a difficult time hiring in-person teaching. We are currently still providing virtual teaching through our Edgenuity platform, through our laptops for our youth. One thing we have noted with our kids, especially our older kids, is that may not meet their needs, that it would be much more beneficial for them. So we are working with BOCES, and we are very close to having a meeting this afternoon with BOCES again to bringing in GED programming in person into the facility 3 days a week, which would serve a lot of our youth. And we're very excited about that. So we haven't hammered out all the particulars with them, but we are very close to doing that. And like I said, we'll be meeting this afternoon. I'm very hopeful for this GED program to get up and running, hopefully in June.
Any questions? Item number 9 is a letter of concern and performance and package memo to everybody.
So I think the attachments I included with the memo, I conflated two separate inspections as one. So you have the letter of concern that was issued on January 27th related to reporting to the Justice Center. And then there was a subsequent inspection, the site visit on 2/11/2025. So they're two separate items.
Well, however, this your site visit also mentions about the issue with justice in the reporting.
Okay.
So
you wanna
it is the correct.
Oh, good. I saw the dates.
You're right on point.
Oh, good.
So OCFS issued a concern. The particulars were some issues, allegations made by youth were brought to us by an OCFS liaison, brought to leadership. In our estimation, the OCFS individual was the mandated reporter because they heard it first, and we expected them to report it. They expected us to report it because we operate the facility. There was a disagreement on how to do it, and so the Justice Center became involved. they understood it was a a difference of opinion rather than anyone wanting any youth to get hurt or anything of that nature. What we did do even prior to the investigation with the Justice Centers, we came to an agreement with OCFS that we, as the facility, anytime anything is reported, we will make sure that we report it. Other people may report it as well, but we will make sure it's reported so that we know it is handled and taken care of. There were no findings against any individuals in Together for Youth or the agency as a result of the investigation. They did not find that we did anything wrong, but we want to make sure we move forward with that process. Also to further improve our relations with OCFS and the Justice Center. Last week, we brought representatives from OCFS, their investigative team, and from the Justice Center investigative team into the facility to meet with all of our leadership so that we could talk about mandated reporting and talk about how to keep youth safest in the facility so that we were all on the same page. It was a positive meeting. Ray and his team were there, but able to ask a lot of questions, and they were able to ask questions of us. So it was a good afternoon where we were able to make sure that we were all on the same page moving forward so that we are keeping you safe.
So in the inspection report, there are a number of things that are related to the construction project, including the complaints about the heat. There were other things in the report, though, I wanted to ask about, Luke, and see if they were addressed. And the kid that didn't have the appropriate size shoes.
Right.
Say that again.
You stated in the site visit that they didn't have the appropriate shoes.
Oh, yeah, we definitely ordered, I don't know how many, I think we're up to like 82 different shoes that we provided, but we also, that one individual, we had to go outside and purchase some sneakers and shoes from Walmart. Because the regular shoes that we use, I can't think of the brand name, but for that particular individual wore a size 14 or 15. We had to go to Walmart to purchase those shoes.
All right. And the allegation of that a staff member kicked out a youth from playing the PlayStation, has that issue been addressed?
I don't recall that issue. Not sure about that.
So anything that was reportable, we would have reported. Having a youth stop using a video game would not be an issue. Youth neglect would be a supervisory issue. But I'm not sure that.
Was it normal that the staff play PlayStation with the youth?
They do, yeah. And if any time that abuse is proved and it should be based on a behavior issue or safety.
We still have the same food vendor. I've made a lot of different calls to different catering agencies. It's been very difficult to get anybody to quote the job because of the nature of the 24/7 operation facility, 365, having to bring food in, not having a commercial kitchen on site. But we continue to explore all options to improve the quality of the food at the facility.
And just a note on that, we did take a trip out to our food vendor. They are prohibiting us. They showed us the new machines that they're using. They showed us also explained to us the amount of staff that they have hired a couple of months ago. So it was a good meeting, just to kind of go through the process and how they make food, how they prepare food. It was good to see that all the workers were wearing gloves and stocking caps on their head. So that was a good visit to their facility.
Good. Any other questions for Luke or Ray? If that moves us on to number 10.
Yeah. There's feedback on that, is that?
Sure.
So we've come a long way since staffing crisis during COVID, and we're staffed up to operate a 39-bed facility. But there's still room for improvement, which OCFS has pointed out. So you want to just give us some.
Sure. We
Summary
are
of that.
continuing working to recruit staff to bring them on. Have created a schedule for 39 beds, which is staffing over what is regulatory required. But OCFS would like to see more staff, which we also agree, we're continuing to recruit for staff, so we do fully staffed. But we do we are able to support it over regulations. OCFS brought up other concerns about when we have staff off and things of that nature. A lot of those concerns, as we get more staff, will not be an issue. Because we have our past days set up very deliberately so that on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we have a much higher staffing ratio, so we can provide staff meetings, supervision, and training for our staff. That's why we did it that way. So we are meeting today at 11 o'clock with OCFS to talk about our plans for staffing and to look at some of their suggestions. And if we can utilize their suggestions in our staffing, we're definitely going to do it to keep everybody as safe as possible. We really want to hear what they have to say. But we are able to staff above regulation.
So the staffing ratio that was recommended is 1.2, or?
Yes.
Okay. So that means for every line staff, you have 1.2 people assigned that day. So you can flex and be flexible as people call out or things happen. Any questions?
Item 11 is facility operation agency.
Yeah, so very positive note, we continue to have our enrichment groups and our outside resources coming to our facility, Planned Parenthood and, music therapy, which are outside, programs. Did a 6-week curriculum and it was awesome. It was awesome for the kids, to provide feedback to them and they'll need to ask a lot of questions. So that just ended, so we're gonna restart that as we're going into the summer program. We also have the Success Math Initiative, which is run by a speaker by the name of Trent Griffin. He's also on I think it's like the 12-week curriculum. So that's been going extremely well because he's been able to partner up with certain outside individuals to come into our facility. So we're extremely happy about that. The kids enjoy it. We order food. So it's been a success, this whole time. We're also going to be using SNUG, which is a gang preventive violence. They've been at our facility 3 times already throughout the past year, so we're looking to use them again going into the summer. And that extremely helps the kids because it provides them with outside resources and things like that for kids that are being released or even being placed temporary in another correctional facility. So we're just going to continue with these resources. I've been very happy with the resources that we bring in. The kids enjoy it, so this is something that's positive going on at the facility.
I also think it's very positive that we're able to use the new outdoor rec space.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're using it a lot right now, but I believe obviously as the weather gets really, much better, definitely gonna use that. Yeah.
Yes.
How's the outside gym working?
Good. We have some people that are using it, some people are not. There's a lot of space, so most kids spread out. If you take a look at, get some kids on the bench, some kids playing basketball, some kids using the weight. So it's going pretty well so far.
What was that?
Success Matt,
LAT?
MAP.
MAP, Success
Yeah,
Map.
sorry. Yep. And it's run by Trent Griffin.
Okay. The reports are.
Oh,
Bring them support to be able to tell the judge, look, we've done these programs and.
Yep.
I think there's been more details on how many times they're getting called out on things, so that's also helpful to see if they're progressing.
and our enrichment groups are within, it's the nursing department, it's the clinical department. Just providing these kids with, feedback on, it could be something with hiding, it could be, job interviews and stuff like that. So it's going really well and we're just gonna continue it as we approach the summer.
One other educational thing I did want to note is we are still partnering with South Colony School, who has agreed to take all of our credit recovery to award the credits, diplomas, provide our regencies. And so they are continuing to work on that with us. I know we met a couple weeks ago with them and so we are working with them. So it's very positive to have their support still.
You guys have computers that are going to regions?
No, because we did not have anybody eligible for
I
these
was just
regencies,
curious.
but we are prepared if they need to.
Any other business?
Yes,
Tom,
we gotta get Tom, our financial officer. So we are in the process of wrapping up our 2022 audit. It has taken about 18 months with the auditing firm. Same auditing firm we've had since 2016, since I came on board, Bonadio. As you recall, we'll take a trip down memory lane for those new members. But with Raise the Age, in 2017, it was passed. Prior to 2017, CDYCI would set an annual rate. We would take a look at our budget and our use from the prior year, and we would set our own rate and charge it. We also would pay as you go. So we would bill, and we were allowed to bill every user county that used the facility. So we would send monthly bills out based on use to all of the counties that use the facility. And then we would administer those payments directly to Berkshire Farm on a monthly basis, rolling basis. So they always had cash for cash flow. After the advent of Raise the Age, OCFS said we couldn't do any of that anymore, and we had to move to a quarterly reimbursement model. And the quarterly reimbursement model, the downside is it creates a significant cash flow issue for Together for Youth. But for our ease of business, we only have to bill the 4 counties. Albany County pays for all out-of-county youth, the state reimburses them, and the other counties pay for their own youth. During that transition, a number of things happened. One, we lost the ability to set our own rate. We had to ask rate setting to set our own rate by quarter. And we had a transition from the monthly billing to a quarterly billing model. In 2017 and 2018, the board voted to delay the reimbursement of monies that were due back to the counties. Since we created an annual estimated rate, we often padded the rate to make sure we had enough money. So at the end of the year, we do a reconciliation and give back any overpayments that were due back to the counties. With the setting of a quarterly rate based on actual expenses, there is no longer a need to do that kind of reconciliation. In addition, we also changed accountants at that time. We brought Tom on in 2018, 2019.
Well, for this and the 2019, I started working.
Right. So, and the way our previous accountant was booking some of these expenses was not the way it should have been done. In addition, there were some duplicate expenses that were never cleaned up after Tom converted the file into the new QuickBooks file. Our previous accountant, instead of creating different classes of the same corporation, created 2 separate QuickBooks files for secure detention and specialized secure detention. However, the only organization that was paying any bills was the secure detention side. So there was SSD owing SD, but it wasn't accounted for that way. And all these little things sort of were left hanging out there. And the auditing firm every year approved our audits with these miscellaneous things out there. And so here we are in 2025, and we have an amount of money that's out there that I know we don't owe to anybody, but it's still on our books. And they're asking us to identify what it is. And so even though we've explained this to our auditors, we still can't come to a resolution on finishing the 2022 audit. I have drafted a letter to send to Together for Youth to have them say, no, we do not owe you this amount of money. And hopefully that will resolve this issue. But Tom is here, and he's been working with them over the course of the past 18 months or so to resolve these issues that.
Started in June of 2023. And Bonadio said they couldn't get to it until September. And then September came around, they didn't respond to any emails. And they finally started at the end of November with a new junior accountant working for them. It was normal in a lot of client firms. So we rehashed the same information from 2020 audit, whereas if this, I identified that something's wrong with accounts payable. 2021 audit, basically these errors in process, that's what they was, the accounting process was not in. Goes back to an infant time, because they were simply not posted, there was no matching issues. Instead of putting in invoices from Berkshire Farms and Together for Youth, now, it was just a general ledger entry. And then when payments came in from the various counties, a proportion of that was simply paid over without matching it to any timeframe, specific bill or anything else. So that left things unmatched. And then when Raise the Ace came through, the separate corporations that were set up created another set of problems that were not matched as part. So it left us with an unreconcilable difference. That's where we're at.
So we're going to continue to try to work with them. Hopefully we can give them a letter to explain that we don't owe anything to Together for Youth. There are some accounts payable still on the books that says we owe counties.
Well, it's more counties owing us.
Oh, right.
All the peripheral counties who refuse to pay, or it's just gotten so old that we finally identified it there. There's no sense in going back for less than hundreds of dollars
Mhm.
each. But if you add up 30 or 40 of those, it's a reasonable amount of funds.
Right. So, some counties like Queens County, for example, can never get them to pay. But thankfully now we don't have to bill any of the counties, we just bill the four. So I wanted to give you an update to be transparent about why we haven't taken a look at an audit in so long. We're gonna try to resolve this, but if we can't resolve it with our auditing firm, what is your recommendation, Tom?
Well, again, there's no required audit from CDYCI. It's an internal. It's a good idea and it's proper for the board to ask for an audit each year. However, there's no regulatory requirement. So if we cannot resolve this issue, I think it comes to the board simply accept the financials as they are presented with this old term reconciliation amount still left over after we deal with incurring that it is either due or not due. And once that's done, those financials, I believe, are fair. I think we are properly presented at this time. Our procedures follow correct accounting methodologies now. And there is no more missing reconciliation numbers. Each and every year, 2021, 2020, and 22 through 2024 have been handled properly. But these old items are not resolvable because of the way they were accounted for back in the day. And they're not just from RTA. Some of this could precede that. I just can't, as I said in my email to Mark, I can't forensically determine what exactly occurred.
What's the quantity of those?
They added to,
Other is out funds.
it's almost about $225,000 that appear to be additional, in accounting terms, retained earnings or excess fund balance. And then the question comes down to is what should we do with that? Retain it as reserves or disperse it as reimbursements?
What is your thoughts on that? As honest, if we
I think
proceed with that?
well, what I understand of the bylaws and methodologies of CDYCI, it shouldn't have a significant retained earnings, but it should have some fund balance. That perhaps would be some portion of that. I think the fund balance without that would be about 120 or 150, I think. But again, if there is a reason to retain a larger fund balance because of proposed or future need, then retain the fund balance. If there is not, then it comes down to what should we do with that excess fund balance?
So
I refer to it as excess fund balance. It's really wrong. It's just there.
before Raise the Age, we did, when we were setting our own rates, did include a portion of the rate to be dedicated toward a capital reserve fund. And so that generated some additional revenue that we parked in a bank. We also had a CD back then. So for a couple of years, we were investing in sort of a capital improvement fund. And then OCFS said you can't charge for that kind of thing anymore. So
So I mean, this is either going to be part of that discussion or a separate discussion altogether. And going forward with this problem eliminated,
Yep.
audits should go slam dunk easy. Action.
problem's corrected, right?
Or, well, I just wait for the next one to come up.
Any
But
other
yeah,
questions for
this-
Tom?
This problem is fully resolved from the standpoint of what.
I agree.
Yeah. The problem's not resolved because the auditors have not accepted anything that we've given to them. Each
Move
time,
on.
well, as an example. Should this money be returned to the counties? Was the question. That the auditors basically said, yes, it should be returned to the counties. So I booked it to be returned to the counties and they questioned why I did that. It's still not resolved on the auditor's mind, and I understand it, being an auditor myself back in the day. You don't sign off on things you don't fully understand, and believe are fair and accurate. And since we cannot prove where these dollars came from, because of the way it was accounted for as general ledger entries as opposed to bills and invoices and particulars. They're not accepting our language. Understood. But the board can accept the financials as they stand without the audit. And then move forward to future audits or whichever is. Thank you. Any
Thanks, Tom.
discussion, any questions?
Any other business?
I'm done.
Mhm.
I'll go back to work.
All right.
And thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
There is no other business. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor, signify by saying aye.